Welcome to the second and final module of economic analysis. In Module 1, we focused on macroeconomic foundations, how individuals and firms make decisions, how markets work, and how prices are determined. Now, we are going to shift gears and look at the macroeconomic perspective, the economy as a whole. In this module, we will explore national income accounting, economic growth, business cycles, unemployment, inflation, and the role of government policy. We will also consider international trade and finance, before concluding with an integrative discussion on applying economic analysis to real-world decision-making. 1. Nature and scope of macroeconomics. Macroeconomics examines large-scale economic phenomena, things that affect countries or even the global economy. While microeconomics studies individual decision-making, macroeconomics looks at aggregate indicators such as GDP, unemployment rates, inflation, and trade balances. The main questions in macroeconomic analysis include: how is the economy growing, and what drives that growth? Why do we have fluctuations, periods of boom and recession? How can policy tools stabilize the economy? How do domestic and international forces interact in determining economic performance? 2. National income accounting. National income accounting is the framework used to measure the overall performance of the economy. It involves calculating gross domestic product, GDP, which is the total market value of all final goods and services produced within a country's borders during a specific period. We can measure GDP using 3 approaches. Production approach, summing up the value added at each stage of production. Income approach, adding up all incomes earned by factors of production. Expenditure approach, summing up total spending on final goods and services, consumption, investment, government spending, and net exports. GDP can be measured in nominal terms, using current prices, or real terms, adjusted for inflation. Real GDP is preferred for tracking changes in economic output over time because it reflects changes in quantities, not prices. Other related indicators include: gross national product, GNP, measures production by a country's citizens, regardless of location. Net national product, NNP, GNP minus depreciation. National income, NI, total income earned by residents of a country. Disposable personal income, DPI, income households have available for spending and saving after taxes. 3. Economic growth. Economic growth refers to an increase in the capacity of an economy to produce goods and services, typically measured by growth in real GDP. Sources of growth: capital accumulation, more machinery, infrastructure, and buildings to boost production. Labor force growth, more workers entering the economy. Technological progress, improvements in knowledge and method of production. Human capital development, better education, skills, and health of the workforce. Importance of growth. Sustained economic growth improves living standards, increases employment opportunities, and generates resources for health, education, and infrastructure. However, growth also brings challenges like environmental degradation, resource depletion, and income inequality, which need to be managed carefully. 4. Business cycles. The business cycle refers to the recurring pattern of expansion and contraction in economic activity over time. Phases of the business cycle: expansion, rising GDP, employment growth, increased investment. Peak, the highest point before a downturn. Recession, falling GDP, rising unemployment, reduced spending. Trough, the lowest point before recovery begins. Business cycles are influenced by demand shocks, such as sudden changes in consumer spending, and supply shocks, like oil price spikes or natural disasters. They can also be affected by changes in monetary or fiscal policy. 5. Unemployment. Unemployment occurs when people who are willing and able to work cannot find jobs. It is measured as the percentage of the labor force that is unemployed. Types of unemployment. Frictional unemployment, temporary unemployment as people change jobs or enter the labor force. Structural unemployment, mismatch between worker skills and job requirements. Cyclical unemployment, caused by downturns in the business cycle. Seasonal unemployment, linked to seasonal variations in demand or production. Unemployment has both economic and social costs, including lost output, reduced income, and social instability. 6. Inflation. Inflation is the sustained increase in the general price level of goods and services over time. Types of inflation. Demand pull inflation, too much demand chasing too few goods. Cost push inflation, rising production costs forcing businesses to raise prices. Built-in inflation, wage price spirals where higher wages lead to higher prices, and vice versa. Inflation is measured using price indexes like the Consumer Price Index, CPI, and Producer Price Index, PPI. While moderate inflation is common in growing economies, hyperinflation can destroy purchasing power, and deflation, falling prices, can stall economic activity. 7. Macroeconomic policy. Governments use macroeconomic policy tools to influence economic performance. Fiscal policy. Fiscal policy involves changes in government spending and taxation to influence aggregate demand. Expansionary fiscal policy, more spending, lower taxes, can boost a sluggish economy, while contractionary policy, less spending, higher taxes, can cool down an overheated economy. Monetary policy. Monetary policy is the control of the money supply and interest rates, usually by a central bank. Lowering interest rates and increasing money supply can stimulate spending and investment, while raising rates can curb inflation. 8. International trade and finance. No modern economy operates in isolation. Trade and financial flows connect nations in complex ways. Benefits of trade. Allows countries to specialize according to comparative advantage. Increases variety and lowers prices for consumers. Encourages innovation and efficiency. Trade balance. A country's trade balance is the value of exports minus imports. A surplus means exports exceed imports, while a deficit means the opposite. Persistent trade deficits can lead to borrowing from abroad and currency depreciation. Exchange rates. Exchange rates, the price of one currency in terms of another, influence trade flows. Appreciation makes exports more expensive and imports cheaper, while depreciation has the opposite effect. Global financial markets. Capital can flow across borders through foreign direct investment, portfolio investment, and loans. These flows can boost growth but also expose economies to global financial instability. 9. Applying economic analysis in decision-making. Economic analysis provides a toolkit for making better decisions in both the public and private sectors. By understanding cost and benefits, marginal analysis, and the incentives driving behavior, policymakers and business leaders can design strategies that improve efficiency and welfare. Examples include using demand forecasts to set production targets, designing tax policies that minimize distortions, assessing infrastructure projects using cost-benefit analysis, evaluating the impact of trade agreements. 10. Integrating micro and macro perspectives. While microeconomics and macroeconomics are studied separately, they are deeply connected. For instance, the investment decisions of individual firms, a micro concept, influence national capital formation and economic growth, a macro concept. Likewise, macroeconomic conditions like interest rates affect household spending and business investment at the micro level. The most effective economic analysis combines both perspectives, understanding individual incentives and behaviors while keeping sight of the big picture. Closing remarks. We have now completed our journey through economic analysis. In Module 1, we examined the microeconomic foundations of choice, market behavior, and competition. In Module 2, we explored the macroeconomic forces that shape the performance of entire economies, the policies that influence them, and their interactions with the global economic system. Economic analysis is not just a theoretical exercise, it is a practical framework for understanding and improving the world around us. Whether you are making decisions as a consumer, a business leader, or a policymaker, the concepts we have covered can guide you toward better choices, more efficient resource use, and a deeper appreciation of the complex economic forces at play.